I want to tell a story about generosity and how it's a blessing to give more than to receive. And that's from Jesus' own words in the Bible. Have you guys heard of that before? Yeah, so earlier this year, I had this wonderful opportunity to go to Brazil for a mission trip. Now, when I first signed up for this mission trip, it was with a church that I had never been to. It was from Pastor Dada's church in Alstonville, if anybody is familiar with that church. It's really far from here. And I'm from Sydney. So I had no idea who I was going with on this mission trip. I had not met anyone. I hadn't even met the pastor before. And all we had was these meetings. And I actually thought that I had signed up for a trip just to Brazil. So we were just going to a city like Rio de Janeiro. Have you guys heard of that city before? It's a really popular city. I thought we were just going to do one of the city, kind of like fix a church there. But no, I found out after the first meeting we were going to the Amazon. So, and once you guys get to know me, I like camping. I did Pathfinders. Do you guys do Pathfinders? Yeah. I like camping in the outdoors. But the Amazon was not one of the places I thought I would ever go to. I'm not really the type to really rough it out. So I was really surprised, but I decided, when else would I have an opportunity to go to the Amazon? Have you guys heard of the Amazon? The Amazon River, and then there's a lot of indigenous people who still live there. And so our mission was to go to an indigenous community about 24 hours boat ride from one of the main cities in Brazil. And I didn't even know the Amazon was, Brazil was part of one of the areas where the Amazon River actually goes to. I didn't know that. So we took this boat for 24 hours to get to this village, and we served there for 2 weeks. And again, I had a misconception. I thought we were just going to be painting. Have you guys been on a mission trip before? Yeah. So I thought, and I had never been, this is my first one. I thought we were just going to do some painting, maybe fix up a few things, help clean, do a few, like this children's story, and sing songs for the kids in the community. But no, we actually were physically building a church. So we were laying bricks, mixing cement. You guys have seen that, the tradies do that. I had never done any work like that in my entire life. So I have a big appreciation now for tradies and what they do, because it's hard work. And we did that for 2 weeks, waking up at 5 a.m. in the morning, doing devotional, working till 4 p.m., taking a shower, doing a night program, and then repeat for 2 weeks. Now, at the end of this 2 weeks, we were all so tired. So tired. And it was a lot of physical labor, and the weather there is really hot and humid, very different to the summer here. And so it was really tiring. And my back was hurting. We were also sleeping on hammocks. We weren't sleeping on a normal bed. So it was really hard. And on our last week, we had a team meeting. So it was kind of like this. And there was about 10 of us. And the pastor said, guys, I know we only decided to stay here for the 2 weeks, but there's an opportunity to stay an extra day just to finish the last bit of work in the church. So we had completed, the walls, and there was a roof, but they wanted to do just a bit more to help the community, because they had no physical church building. They were just meeting in a little gazebo that they made, structure. So they had no church. They didn't have a church like this. And so we had a meeting, and then the pastor said, so I'll take you guys to do a vote on who wants to stay and who wants to go back as planned. So I was speaking to another girl next to me, and we were saying, we're so tired. We only really expected to just be here for the 2 weeks, and we, used up all our energy today because we thought it was our last day, and we were even celebrating that it was the last day of work. And so I said to her, what are you going to vote? And then we decided in our little, chat that we were going to vote, we're going to go home, because we want to go home. And we're also homesick. And so when it came to the vote, guess what happened? So the pastor said, put your hand up if you want to go home as planned. I put my hand up, and I thought my friend was going to as well. But she didn't. She threw me under the bus. And so out of the 10 people, I was the only one with my hand up, confidently, because I thought my friend was with me, saying, I want to go home. And so I looked at her, and I was like, what? And she was like, Oh, sorry. And it's fine. We're friends. I see her at uni still, so and it's been nice to seeing her. And so what happened was we ended up staying another day, and I, to be honest with you, was really disappointed that we were staying another day. But this disappointment changed to joy after the day that I spent there, the extra day that I spent in that community. So what ended up happening was we actually only had half a day of work because there wasn't much left to do. So it was only a little bit of things that we were wanting to really finish up and do well. And after we did that, the community and the tribe elder, so the chief of the community, they decided to take us on a journey down the river, about 3 hours more down the river, to a waterfall. And this place, we would have to walk in the Amazon forest. I was really scared about that, but it was fine. We didn't encounter any tarantulas or any snakes or anything, which I was grateful for. But they took us to this waterfall, and we found out that we were the only people ever who were not Amazonians to have gone to this, because they had seen our act of service of building the church as such a generous gift that they wanted to give us something back. And this is something, for Indigenous people, they just don't allow anyone out of their community to go to places that only they know of. So this place is like, there's no map to it. You can't find it on Google Maps. Also, there's no service there. So they took us there, and we spent, it was such a beautiful time. We got to spend just relaxing in the waterfall and swimming. And then also they cooked us food. We ate piranhas. You guys, I didn't know you could eat piranhas, so we ate that. Fun fact. And yeah, so I learned after this, and this was our last day. When we got back from the waterfall, it was time to say goodbye. And they had this little ceremony for us. And even though I was so disappointed at the decision of the rest of the group to stay, God started working in my heart when He made me see that the people were receiving our service with such open hearts and gratitude, that it started to change the way I felt about staying the extra day. And it wasn't just because we stayed at the waterfall, but it was such a blessing to spend time with the people and just seeing how grateful they were that we were able to build them a church. And so I want to read you guys a few verses, and we just talked about what Jesus says. So I found it a real blessing to stay. And actually, I started, when we got on the boat to go back to the main city and go home, I was sobbing because I actually wanted to stay. I formed such a good bond, and I realized I formed such a good bond with a lot of the people in the community. And I realized on that last moment when we were getting on the boat back home that I would probably never see these people again. And it was actually such a gift to have the extra day with them. So I think sometimes we tend to think, and we tend to be a bit sad or disappointed when we have to do an extra bit of work to help someone out. And sometimes we are hesitant to do that. But I just want to read Jesus' own words. And he says in Acts 20, verse 35, "It is more blessed to give than to receive." And in verse 38, it also talks about how when he said these words, the person who was writing this, when he said these words, that they were sad because they realized they would never see him again. And that kind of links to my story. And I also want to read a few other verses to you guys. And in Deuteronomy 15, verse 10, it says, "You shall give to him freely, and your heart shall not be grudging when you give to him, because for this the Lord your God will bless you in all your work and all that you undertake." So I guess I want to encourage you guys that sometimes when you want to serve people, want to give generously, or in any act of service, when there's that little part of you that wants to hold back, I want to encourage you guys to give a bit more. Yeah, it's hard, but it's actually so much more blessing to us when we give than it is to receive or to hold back our generosity to others. And you don't have to go to a mission trip to do that. You don't have to go and build a church. It can be with your friends at school. It can be with the people here at church. It can be with your siblings or your family. So I hope that you guys remember that it's more blessed to give than to receive. Thank you.